Hey loves, this is Bobby and I'm here with another vlog. And this is going to be vlog number 35 and I read some really great books this week. This might be one of my best reading weeks in a while when it comes to like rating wise because I read some amazing books. And let's talk about them. I actually don't think I had a single dud this week, which is great. Really quick before I get into this week, I did read one more book last week that I didn't put into the vlog because I filmed my vlog before I read it. I wasn't planning on reading it, but I had some time left over and I kind of just wanted to read something. So I ended up picking up Something's Killing the Children, Volume 2. I read Volume 1 last month, I think it was, and I really enjoyed it. It was a great book. We follow the story of, in this town, there is a bunch of kids that are either going missing or turning up dead. Nobody knows what the hell is going on. This one boy, along with some of his friends, sneak out during a slumber party, and they end up in the woods, and only one of them comes out alive. And he says that when he wakes up, he tells everybody that his friends were all killed by monsters out in the woods. Nobody believes him. They think either he killed them all or something really traumatic happened and he's making up this lie about monsters. Well, all of a sudden this woman shows up named Erica Slaughter, coolest name ever, shows up and she tells the kid that she believes him and that she is a monster hunter, and she gets out into those woods and tracks down what the hell is killing the children. It was a great action-packed book. Volume 2 is so much better. I loved Volume 1. Volume 2, I went with 5 stars. The story really picks up. We get a little more background because Volume 1 was very, this is what's happening, how we're handling it. Volume 2 was more, okay, let's get into the background. Who is Erica Slaughter? Who are these other mystery people? What are these kind of monsters? You know, what else is going on in this town? It was great. It's action-packed. Really good kind of monster horror type of book. I think it's great. I will be reading Volume 3. I'm not going to be putting these books probably on a TBR. I'll probably get into these whenever I get a chance. Volume 1 I have physically, but Volume 2 and so on, I'll probably just be getting the e-versions from, I think I got them off of Hoopla, had them. So I'll just be getting them off of there from now because I just don't have the space for graphic novels and comic books because they don't take up a lot of space, but size-wise, like height and everything, they just are so awkward for me to put on my shelves and I just don't have anywhere else to put them. So I like to get Volume 1s physically, and then anything from there on out, if I can find digitally, I'll do them digital. I do really like digital graphic novels and comic books. I find them great. But yes, super fun series. Definitely check it out if you're into horror or action or anything with like monsters and stuff. It was great. So for the first book I read this week, I knocked off one of the hardest prompts for the Pop Sugar challenge, as well as reading a book featuring myth or lore for the wayward-a-thon. And this is the one that I did kind of loosely because it's not based on any real myth or lore. This author literally just builds his entire universe and makes his own mythologies, and I'm counting it, and I don't care what anybody says because it counts to me, because anybody that puts that kind of work deserves to have it counted. So it's counting, and I just really wanted to read this book. And that is Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson. This is the second book in the Stormlight archive. 5 stars. 5 stars. Let me tell you that first off. It is amazing. This book also was for the longest book on my TBR for the Pop Sugar, and hefty boy. I loved every single moment in this. I do the audiobooks for Brandon Sanderson's work. I just really enjoy his narrators. They're phenomenal every single time. So as long as the audiobooks are just amazing, I'm going to keep doing audio versions for his. But I loved everything about this. I literally can't talk about anything because you will spoil stuff from the first book, because this takes off running and does not stop, and it is amazing. We meet so many new characters through the intermission parts, and I loved all of that, just kind of learning more and more. And then what other mythology is like kind of building up in here and trying to put all these pieces together. And oh my goodness. Also, no, I'm not going to spoil anything. I'm going to be super, super vague about it. But if you watched when I talked about my favorite character and everything, and in the beginning, what happens, and then me just literally being in denial for an extra like 48 hours while listening to this, because this book is like 40 some hours long. It's like huge. And it was like, I think I read it over, like, I listened to it over like 3 or 4 days. So now it's about 2.5 days, I think it took me to make it through the audiobook. And me literally just being in denial the entire time because I refused to accept what was happening. And then we get the epilogue, and all of my denial was worked out for me. It worked out, and I was freaking out. I was so close to being done that I just said screw it, and I kept listening to the audiobook on my way home from work. Usually that's when I'll switch over to a physical book, but I just kept listening, and I'm sitting there waiting for the bus, and I was like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, like out loud. Like I had my headphones in, but I'm like out loud going, oh my god, 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 and then I think I screamed. And I kind of scared the people that were sitting around me, but my bad. But I loved it, and it was amazing. I will be hopefully getting to Oathbringer. I want to try getting to it next month if I can. I will definitely try my hardest to get it on my TBR for whatever readathon I am going to be doing. And that's the one I'm kind of nervous about, because that's the one I constantly see people saying is their least favorite in the series. And it's also the only Brandon Sanderson book that like doesn't have any kind of weight on the audiobook ever. Like since I got into Sanderson, that's the one book that does not have any kind of weight. And I'm like, why is it that doesn't have a weight on it? Everything else does. So I'm a little nervous about it, but after everything that happened in this book, I need to read it, and I need to know what's going to happen. I would totally be into diving into it now, but I like my TBR work, what it is, so I will wait. I will contain myself. But yes, I loved it. I can't wait to get more into the series, and yes, give me all of these books. I love them so much. I will talk about one character really quick, and that is Shalon. I really liked her in the first one, and honestly, when it comes to her character, she's kind of one of those characters that I would like everything kind of about her, like, is a character that would annoy me. And for some reason, she doesn't annoy me at all. Like, I find her just wonderful. And seeing her slowly, like, grow as a character and as a person is just amazing. And I'm, like, so excited to see what else is coming. And I'm just, like, now that we've got where we're at, and I'm just, like, freaking out. And I'm, like, I need more. I need more, and I can't wait to read the next book. So there we go. That was my beginning of the week and just kind of blew my mind. So with all of that, I needed to step away from fantasy for just a minute because I was still trying to decompress all of that. So the next book that I picked up for my physical book, I wanted to go with a short story. I have a couple shorter books, but two actually like I think they're under 200 pages each that I wanted to. And I'm like, I felt like this was a perfect time to get to them to kind of decompress from Words of Radiance. So I went with, and I wanted to kind of step away from fantasy for at least a minute. And that was All Systems Red by Martha Wells. This is the first book in the Murderbot Diaries. I don't know how many books there are, but I think there's more than 3 already. I'm not sure. And 4 stars. I love this. This was great. We follow the story of this robot that he's watching over this kind of group of scientists and stuff, and he manages to override his kind of like systems and everything, and he could basically go on a killing spree, or he could run away, or he can do all kinds of just terrible things. And he doesn't do that. He decides that he's going to download a bunch of TV and just watch it. My kind of character. I loved him. It was just a really fast-paced, great sci-fi. If you want to give sci-fi a try, because I know a lot of people have a hard time getting into sci-fi, I definitely recommend this. It was amazing. It's under 200 pages. I think it's actually like 150 pages or so. And it was great. It's not overwhelmingly like hard science or anything going on in there, but the characters are all great. Seeing where, everyone making their decisions and everything, and then what else is going on. And then the ending definitely made me super excited to continue on with this series. I cannot wait. I loved it. I don't know if I will end up buying the rest of the series and reading them physically, or maybe trying the audiobooks for these. It kind of just depends on when I can get to them. But I absolutely loved it. I thought it was wonderful. So fully recommend this, 4 stars. The next one I went with is the one, let's see how many times I have to edit it out, because I keep saying the name wrong when I try and read it off, and it's because it's got a really long title and it just gets me tongue-tied. So let's see, and hopefully I can only do this in one. And that is The Order of the Pure Moon Reflected in Water by Zen Cho. Got it in one. Hell yeah. This is the one that I was super, super vague about when I had talked about it, because I really didn't know what it was about. And the blurb on the inside is like even less helpful. It doesn't really tell you too much of anything. And I feel like going into this that way is a really great way to do it. We've got martial arts. We do have some fantastical elements to it, like magic, but it's just watching these characters interact and everything. We follow the story of this woman who, she is working in a tea house. One of the customers starts harassing her, and she is kind of defended by another customer who turns out to be this wanted bandit. And she ends up losing her job, and she joins this group of bandits. And she gets herself into a kind of a really bad situation with them, because she doesn't quite know exactly what they're doing, because they're not like robbing people or anything. And they say that they're transporting rice. She finds out that that's not the only thing they're transporting, and this was just wonderful. The main character is part of a religious group, which is the Order of the Pure Moon Reflected in Water, and she has like a shaved head, and the more we learn about her is just wonderful. I believe her name is Im, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Im. And I just enjoyed her character, as well as the other characters that we meet when she joins the group of bandits. And we have LGBT representation in here. This was just wonderful. I loved it. It was beautifully written. The world was beautiful. The way the magic and everything kind of comes out, it was great. I fully recommend this. This is the first book by Zen Cho I've ever actually came across. I've never read anything or even seen any other books, but after finishing this, I saw that she has other books, and I want to definitely check them out. I don't know if this is a standalone or it might be a series. It ends in a way that I would be perfectly happy if it was the ending, but also I would be super excited if I found out there was going to be more, because I feel like the story could keep going, or we could just end. It was great. 4 stars. Recommend it. Super fast read. I'm just definitely feeling novellas. I never used to give them a proper chance, and now I can't get enough of them. These authors are so amazing because they fit these intricate stories with these great worlds and amazing characters into these like just tiny books, and it just blows my mind, and I'm just like, I'm loving them. I definitely recommend giving, short stories a try if you were like me and you just kind of don't, because they're worth it. They are definitely worth it. Okay, this next book is the other book that I was supposed to read last month, but I ended up switching it out for something else, and it was because it fit the prompt really well for Wayward-a-thon, which is a book set in the mountains, which I was having a really hard time finding a book set in the mountains, and then only to find out that half of these other books that I'm reading so far are set in the freaking mountains. But this is like a perfect mountain book, and I grew up on the movie. It is one of my all-time favorite movies. I have watched it at least once a year since I was a really young kid. Like, I probably saw this movie when I was a little too young, but honestly, I've always loved it, and it freaked me out just enough, but it never like terrified me or anything. And when I found out that the author hated the movie, it threw me, because I'm like, this movie is a freaking masterpiece. How can you hate it? Well, now I've read the book and I completely understand. And that is The Shining by Stephen King. Oh, where do we even start? Okay, like I said, the movie is one of my all-time favorites, and when I found out Stephen King doesn't like it, and he really, really, really hates the Stanley Kubrick what you call it version, because they made a what was it, a mini series version of it as well. I grew up on that movie. It is an amazing movie. Now that I've read the book, holy crap, I understand why Stephen King hates that movie, because I still love the movie. As soon as I finished this, I actually ended up watching the movie because I was just like feeling like, oh my god, I have to watch this now. I get it. I get where the hate comes from, because the book and the movie are two completely separate entities that just share a plot and characters. Everything else about it is so different. The tone is the one that threw me off so much, because I did the audiobook for this. The tone is so different from the movie, because the movie is a psychological horror, and the book is heartbreaking. Holy crap. It still has those horror elements, but the movie completely glosses over Jack Torrance as a character, who is the dad. I didn't talk about what this is about, because if you don't know what The Shining's about, I really don't know what to say. A man gets a job to work during the off season in this really huge hotel. He's going to be the caretaker. He brings his family with him, and it's up in the mountains, so they're going to be snowed in once the snow starts falling. And they'll be all alone. Slowly, this hotel starts sinking its claws in, and it comes out that it's haunted, and it slowly drives him crazy, and he starts threatening his family and just everything about it. So that's basically what it's about. This book, though, like I said, in the movie, Jack Torrance, the dad, his alcoholism is mentioned, but it doesn't really come up until kind of the end. Like, you get the little pieces here and there. This is a book that deals with alcoholism, and this is one of the truest forms of alcoholism representation I have ever seen, and it broke my heart so fucking much. Like, it just, like I said, when I say the tone is so different from what I thought it was going to be, the tone of Jack and Wendy dealing with, and Danny dealing with Jack's alcoholism, grips you, and it just broke my fucking heart. I do not drink. I have never been drunk in my life, but I have a lot of alcoholics in my family. Alcoholism runs very, very heavily in my family, and I've seen what that shit can do to families. And reading this, like I said, while listening to the audiobook, it was just like, I couldn't get over, like, how do you leave this out of the movie? Because this is who Jack is as a freaking person. And the other thing that got me was Wendy. She always kind of annoyed me in the movie, because she's just that scared, helpless woman. She is not in the book. Wendy is such an amazing freaking character in this book. She has dealt with Jack's alcoholism. She has, when Jack does hurt their son, that was before the book. It's like mentioned in past, what he did while he was an alcoholic. He accidentally broke Danny's arm. She was going to divorce him and leave him, and that's when he kind of tells her, you know what, I understand, and I will fully, I understand why you would leave me, but give me one more chance and I'm going to stop. He stops drinking cold turkey. He starts turning his life around. But Jack also, on top of the alcoholism, he has very, very deep-seated anger issues, which we learn a lot of where that comes from throughout the book, which we do not get at all in the movie. And like I said, like, they destroyed Jack's character in that movie. And Jack is one of my favorite fucking movie characters ever. Like, I love how crazy Jack Nicholson played him, but that's not who that character is. Jack Torrance is a man who has dealt with a lot of anger and a lot of terrible things in his life, and he slowly starts taking it out on his family because he doesn't know how to process this shit. And it was just heartbreaking. I did not expect for this book to break my heart the way it did. And then with all of that going on, we still have the horrors that are happening in the Overlook Hotel when it's slowly creeping into him. Because I know I keep comparing the movie, but it's really hard not to because almost everybody's seen the movie. It's very rare that I find someone who's never seen The Shining. So it's such a fast, like, Jack in the movie is kind of crazy from the beginning, and so he just gets crazier. In the book, he's not. Like, you see the slow deterioration of his sanity in that hotel in the book. Like, the way the hotel is slowly digging its claws into him and changing him and making him angry. And like I said, Wendy is such an amazing character. She fights the whole time. She fights tooth and nail for Danny, and I love it. As well as the character Danny, like, he's a huge part of this, and I feel like in the movie he's just like that. You know, he's the center point that kind of connects everything, but it's glossed over so much for Jack. And here we learn a lot more about Danny and everything. I need to read Doctor Sleep. Now, I saw Doctor Sleep the movie and I loved it, so I am like fully prepared for the book now. But yes, it is just amazing. I went with, obviously, if you can't tell how much I'm talking about this book, 5 stars. This is now officially my favorite Stephen King book. I have read quite a few Stephen King books. You can see my shelf right there, but I also have quite a few trade paperbacks that are up higher on my shelf. I own a lot of Stephen King, and I've read quite a few of them. Not all of them, but I've read quite a few of his works. And this is my favorite now. I cannot get over just how much I love this. It is phenomenal. It is so good. And I could definitely see myself doing rereads of this and everything, because like I said, the tone and everything, there were so many amazing, like, even horror elements that they left out of the movie that should have been in there because they would have made it even better. Like, it was just the other thing with the physical abuse that Jack has done with Danny in the past with breaking his arm and stuff, Wendy obviously doesn't trust him. And there are some points while reading it, it's kind of like she doesn't trust him. And even though when he is turned himself around and he is a better person, she still has this mistrust and anger to him. And like, there was times where I was like, why are you treating him that way? But then it's like, I had to step back and like, he has hurt him in the past. I know where this book is going. Jack is in the wrong. Wendy literally doesn't do anything wrong, even though there's these little tiny points where I was like, why is she being that way? And then I'm like, why wouldn't she be that way? Like I said, it was just the past trying to disconnect the Wendy from the movie. It was like I said, she's really kind of just that, you know, she's like the scream queen of the movie. She's not really supposed to have like that huge part. The movie is more about, you know, Jack and how he's losing it. This is just, like I said, they destroyed Wendy's character in that movie because she is phenomenal in the book. Like, her character is just like probably one of my favorite. Like, I loved it. The way she fights and the way she cares about her son, and the fact that she loves Jack, but she knows she can't trust him because all it takes is him to start drinking for, you know, knowing that she can't trust him. And it's just, it's so good. Read this book. Like I said, this is now officially my favorite Stephen King book, and I wasn't expecting that. Also, I said that I thought I read this before. I didn't. I read a few chapters because when I was listening to the audiobook, there was a couple parts where I'm like, okay, I remember this. And it wasn't parts that were in the movie. So, okay, it wasn't like having like kind of like getting it confused. No, I was like legit, okay, I'm like, I remember this. And then it got to a certain point where I'm like, I remember none of this. So it was, I think I started reading the book originally and then I never finished it. So officially this will be my first time reading and finishing the book, and I'm so mad I waited this long because it is phenomenal. So get that gushy out of the way, because even though Birds of Radiance and The Shining are both 5 stars, I think my favorite book of the week was actually The Shining, because it just changed how I see the movie so much. Birds of Radiance was flawless. It was amazing. Don't get me wrong. I just think, though, my favorite book this week would be The Shining, just because of how just like rocked I am from it. It's just, So next, while I was listening to the audiobook for The Shining, I picked this up to read physically on my way to work and stuff, as you know I like to do. And I dealt with 2 books that dealt very heavily in alcoholism at the same time, and as someone who does not drink and does not like to be around people that drink due to family things, yeah, it was a little kind of a hard pressed week for that. But I don't know how I feel about this book. I don't think I haven't, as of today, I still haven't actually put on I finished the book, but I haven't put on Goodreads that I finished it. I am trying to move over to Bookgraph, I think is what it's called, or Storygraph, I think is what it's called. I keep getting the name wrong on that, and I keep typing it in wrong when I go to the freaking thingy. But I haven't updated anything yet on this because I don't know how to rate it, because this is a really hard book to rate. And that is No Longer Human by Junji Ito. This is a graphic novel based on a book by Osamu Dazai. I probably butchered that name. The name of the book is No Longer Human. And it is a autobiographical story of the author's life, and then this is Junji Ito adapting it into a graphic novel with his absolutely horrifying art. I didn't know what this was about. I just recently bought this while I was at work because they opened up a bookstore at my job, and I get a discount, and I want to read everything by Junji Ito, and I was like, let me get this. It was like with my discount from work. I I would have paid about the same if I would have bought it outside. So I was like, you know what? Let's pick this up. I read this for the prompt, a book that creeps you out, and this book did creep me out. The art is terrifying in this. Like, the art is super dark. The story is one of the most depressing stories I have ever read. I had to kind of put this down a few times because it was a hard read, and a lot of books don't hit me that way, that much. And I don't know if it was because of the art added in that just really hit even harder, but this has a lot of content warning. We've got rape, we've got sexual abuse of a child, we have severe alcoholism, as well as drug addiction, infidelity, multiple infidelity, suicide attempts, multiple suicide attempts, kind of a murder almost. There's a lot. Like I said, this is a really, really heavy book, and I probably should have read about what was going to be going on in this before I started reading it, because reading this at the same time as I was listening to The Shining, that was, I think, might be why The Shining was hitting me even harder with alcoholism, because this is a very, very tough book. The author, not Junji Ito, the author of the story, Osamu Dazai, shortly after he released the original story, I believe in like serial parts to a newspaper, I believe is what I read, and shortly after the last one was released, he ended up committing suicide. But we follow the story of a man named Yoza Oba, or Yozo Oba. Oba is what he goes by through the whole thing. He comes from, his father is a politician, and so he grows up very, wealthy. He doesn't know how to let people in to know who he really is. He is someone, you pick it up very fast that he's just depressed. Even at a young age, he's just a very depressed person. He has very dark thoughts, and he doesn't want anybody to see that side of him. So he puts on this front of always being happy and silly and being this jokester type of person, when deep down he has, these really dark feelings. When he gets a little older, he does meet a classmate that realizes and calls him out on the fact that he's faking it, that he's just doing all these silly things so that people will like him. And it scares him because no one should see that in him. And at the time when he was really young, he was being sexually abused by a groundskeeper as well as a maid. He never told anybody because he didn't think anybody would believe him. And that's one of those things that really feeds into his like depression and his self-loathing. And he draws he likes art a lot, and he draws this painting and he shows it to the the classmate, and he says that, oh, he sees ghosts. Like, his art is so haunting and creepy that it kind of shows who he is. And he ends up tricking this, playing a very nasty prank on this, friend. And the friend ends up killing himself. And from that point on, you just see him deteriorate. He starts drinking really heavily. He is one of those people where he needs someone to love and take care of him at all times, while he doesn't know how to actually emotionally, like, accept them either. Like, it's just really unhealthy relationships. Like, he just doesn't know how to process anything. Like I said, it's just super dark. He, like, the alcoholism, that's all he does is drink. Like, he ends up literally dropping out of school, doesn't do anything else with his life but drink. He starts mooching off these women, different women, slowly by slowly, and every time he enters their life, he starts slowly destroying their lives, and he does eventually start doing well for himself at certain points. And there's always this one person that kind of comes back into his life and slowly starts destroying his life and getting him back into drinking, and his life just goes down the shitter again, and taking everyone around him with him. This is just a really, really, really hard book. It was great. Like I said, the artwork was amazing. It's just, this is a heavy book, and I was not okay after reading it. I needed to kind of like decompress a little bit. So yeah, I do recommend Junji Ito. Like I said, his artwork is amazing. I have to be careful with where I try and show you things, because there are a lot of nudes in here. Yeah, I keep picking up nudie books. Here we go. These creepy bug people going on there. I said, Junji Ito, I can't go wrong with his writing. I wish I would have known that this is kind of like supposed to be on a true story type of thing almost. Because, yeah, that was very, very different than Uzumaki and like Tomi and stuff. Yeah, this was very, 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 very different. So that was all that I read during the week. Some very, very big books, but some great books. I think I'm gonna probably go with 4 stars for No Longer Human, because it was amazing. It was just so much different than what I thought I was getting into. And then the art was phenomenal. The art was 5 stars. The story, though, it got really repetitive at some points, is where I can't really give the story full 5 stars, because it does have these really slow points in it. But as a whole, though, the story was just very, very hard-hitting and hurt me a lot. So the next book, though, that I am currently reading, I'm about halfway through it, I believe, and I am absolutely loving it. This is the one I'm doing the audiobook for. I'm not sure what I'm going to pick up physically. I started this one when I finished The Shining, and I was still working on No Longer Human physically, so I haven't picked up my physical book yet. But that is The Library of the Unwritten by A.J. Hackwith. This is one of the books that I have been super excited to start. I have been dying for it as soon as I found out what it is about. In Hell, there is a library of unwritten books or unfinished books. They have either been started by these authors and never finished. Some of them are just waiting to be finished. Some of them will never be finished. One of the characters from one of these books actually escapes back into the real world and starts causing a bit of trouble. And these librarians have to go and fetch him, and then we dive into more of the world. I don't want to give any more away. This is actually like the perfect book for a supernatural readathon. This feels like a book that would fit in well with supernatural because of the different elements in it. This would fit a ton of the prompts. If I was doing doubling up on prompts, this would honestly hit quite a few prompts. I'm doing this one for book that features the arts. I'm doing literary arts, and this does actually feature different arts. There's also a wing in the library for paintings that are not finished and everything. I love this world. Well, let me get into my feelings on this book so far. I love it. It is so much fun. It is so much different than what I thought. I thought this was going to be kind of like a more serious book. It is so much fun. I don't want to spoil anything, but I will tell you, we have a battle scene where we have a actual like sword fight battle going on, as well as a battle of literary quotes. The two opponents quote these different books at each other, and if they're not fast enough, the quotes basically start attacking them, like it's like a physical blow almost, and they have to name the author and the book, and it is amazing. It was such a cool scene. It's like right where I left off. I'm a little past that, but I love this. It is so much fun. I started hearing a lot of really mixed things where a lot of people didn't seem to like this, but I'm finding it amazing. It's so much fun. It's very different. Like I said, I thought this was going to be a very kind of like dark, serious book. It's not. It has those kind of elements because we are dealing with hell and demons, but all of the characters are amazing. We have a few main characters and I love all of them, as well as a other group that I don't like those two characters so far, especially one of the other alternating. I don't want to give anything away because I feel like you should go into this just not knowing what to expect. One of the alternating point of views, if you've read this, he's on the other side, and I don't like him. And I don't know if I'm supposed to like him, but I really, really don't like him. But I think it's just because I don't usually like those type of characters. But I am loving this. Would not be surprised if this turns out to be a 5-star book for me, because as of right now, it's 5 stars and it's just so much fun. I'm about, like I said, I think I'm about halfway into the audiobook, or just before halfway. But I love all of the characters. I love the world. I want to know what else is going on. We visit these different worlds. Like I said, this book knocks off a lot of different prompts and would be a really great book to read for different readathons that can double up on prompts, because this has so many kind of different tropes as well as just really cool elements to it. But I'm loving this and I cannot wait to finish it. I am so excited. It's Sunday while I'm filming this, so I'm going to probably be listening to the audiobook tomorrow once I'm doing like all my laundry and all my what have yous and chores that I have to do around the house. But yes, I can't wait. I cannot wait to finish this because I need to know what's going to happen because I'm loving it so much. But yeah, that wraps up my week. I'm not quite sure what my next book is going to be. I've been very kind of just picking as I go along, like, what do I feel like reading? What do I feel like reading? 3 of the books, though, that I think I really want to get to next week. I definitely want to get into the Poppy War. For my next book, I couldn't decide if I was going to do the Library of the Unwritten or Poppy War. The Poppy War, I really couldn't pick. I ended up going with Library of the Unwritten because I just kind of wanted something really different. Because I know this is another book that has a lot of trigger warnings and our content warnings in it. So after reading No Longer Human, I kind of wanted something I didn't know what I wanted, but I didn't want something that was going to deal with super, super heavy topics. This was the perfect choice. My intuition just did not do me wrong at all, because yeah, this is like the perfect book to follow up No Longer Human, because that book made me very, very depressed, and this book is like very fun and just wonderful. So I will definitely be reading the Poppy War next week. I cannot wait for this. When I mentioned I was going to be reading it, I've had a lot of people like, oh my goodness, you're going to love it. You're going to love it. So I am excited for this one. I cannot wait. The other one I think I'm definitely going to be doing is Slaughterhouse-5. Like I said, I'm going to be doing the audiobook, so this might be my physical book for the week, and then this will be my audiobook. This will be a like 10th reread. I don't even know at this point. So nothing new to me, but I just really want it. And I like balancing some of these bigger books with the kind of smaller ones. And like I said, it's a reread of a reread of a reread. But yes, I love it and I can't wait for it. After that, I don't know. I'm kind of just all over the place on what I want to read. I'm thinking Prince of Thorns will be another one that I do this week. And then after that, I'm really just kind of grabbing. But these are like the 2 I know 100% I want to get to this week. Everything else I'm kind of just basically gonna like flip a coin or see what kind of mood I'm in, because I am a mood reader, but at the same time I'm a mood reader that can choose from her TBR. Just kind of like, what do I want to read? I pick so many different genres and types of books that I can mood read off of a TBR, if that makes any sense. I'm organized chaos, what can I say? So there we go. That wraps up my week. I hope you guys had an amazing week. I'd love to know if you finished any books this week. What are you reading this week? Also, really quick, I know my uploads were a little odd from last time because I really wanted to get the wayward-a-thon TBR up, so I posted that before last week's, the week before, vlog, so you're getting 2 vlogs back to back. Sorry about that, but that's how it went. I hope you guys have an amazing week, and I will check in with you guys later. As always, I'm Bobby. Don't forget to subscribe. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Also, all my links will be down below. So take care and happy reading. Bye.